Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and stay tuned by clicking the bell icon. Daniel Brocklebank opens up about Billy's heartfelt plan for dying Paul on Coronation Street. After Paul's recent fall, an occupational therapist will visit him in upcoming episodes and reveal his muscles have reached a point where it's no longer possible for him to sit safely in the stairlift he uses. Paul and Billy are on a waiting list to move elsewhere, but until this happens, it means Paul will be stuck in the flat above the flower shop. With this in mind, Billy tells Paul that tomorrow they'll leave the flat one last time and they can do whatever he wants. Ahead of this episode, which will be dedicated to just Billy and Paul's story, Daniel Brocklebank has been reflecting on their journey so far. Billy is a bit of a control freak, and that has been even prior to the N&D. That was always something that had annoyed Paul in the past, which is why I think Paul jumped to that conclusion initially. Billy was a bit hurt that Paul had gone there, but I think also understood why Paul jumped to that conclusion. But Billy is not a grudge holder, particularly now that they're realizing that their time is running out and very, very precious. Billy is very keen to move on from any sort of disagreements as quickly as possible. It's Billy's idea, he said when asked about the couple's day together. Because David says that, you know that an occupational therapist isn't the law, they can't arrest you, they can't stop you from getting out of the flat. So Billy thinks, right? Let's just have one last day. So he planned this day trip to surprise him so that Paul can have one last little adventure before they're stuck in the apartment. Paul hasn't got a clue what they're going to do. Billy takes him back to the church where they got married, which is lovely, and they have a nice little moment there. He's also organized for some of Paul's buddies to all meet at the Rovers for a drink. Obviously, Paul can't drink because he's got a feeding tube. However, David organizes this funky little bit of machinery, and you can make bubbles out of any liquid that tastes of the liquid. So obviously, having not been able to swallow anything at all for some time, this is such a fun treat as David makes some beer bubbles for Paul so that he can actually taste the taste of it. The whole day is amazing, and I really don't want to spoil it by giving too much away. It was the most incredible and emotional episode to film. Not all of the day is big surprises or gestures. I think what Billy is realizing, as I think most people should, in life, generally anyway, is that actually the small things are the biggest. You don't need grand gestures or expensive gifts. It is in the detail, the little things that matter the most. Amid all of this, Billy is waiting for the moment where Paul will tell them he's ready to end his life. Earlier in the year, Paul asked for Billy's help with this and said he doesn't want to reach a point where his motor neuron disease makes him feel like a hostage inside his own body. I think Billy has made peace with it, Dan revealed. Initially, obviously, it went against his entire moral and religious code, against everything he stands for, because in Billy's mind his life is given to us by God, and therefore is sacred and precious. But then obviously, he also understands Paul's wishes. Billy's a very compassionate person, and despite it being the most brutal moment of his life, I think he's made peace with it. With Billy, it's more about when that time comes. If that time comes, he has to make sure that it really is the moment and Paul is making the right decision. Billy will then be left with the consequences afterwards, and could potentially be left wondering, should I have tried harder to stop him or convince him that maybe next week is a better day, or the week after that, or the week after that, but I do think ultimately has now made peace with Paul's decision. When you're this busy, it is all-consuming, he added when asked about how he manages to switch off after a heavy, emotional day of filming. You're either at home learning it and reading it, or you're here filming it. And there's very little downtime. However, I've got my 3 little dogs, which I walk and get out and about with. As long as I'm outside, I'm happy. I love getting my vitamin D. I love my gardening. Basically, my whole garden is now an allotment and I grow all my own veg. Also getting away in my little camper van at the weekend if the weather's decent. For me, it is about grounding myself in nature and the outdoors. It's a very recharging thing to be in nature and outside. But also wine. Wine really helps, haha. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment and share.